Hey, what's up? LinkedIn Live, YouTube, everybody. This is Man versus Tech with Kyle and Chris. Welcome to another edition, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Central. We're happy to have everybody here joining us today. Thanks for the people that are watching live. Thanks to the people that are checking out all of our post lives. They are on LinkedIn. They are on YouTube. You can always check us out anytime you want to, so you don't have to always join in live. Again, today we're talking about Man versus Tech. Kyle and I are going to have a fun one today. We've been talking a lot about robotic process automation. We've been talking a lot about IDP, artificial intelligence, all kinds of different technology that we're dealing with. We showed some RPA actually doing some keying into a program, but today we wanted to actually have some fun with technology. This is Man versus Tech. Kyle and I talk a lot about technology and things that are out there. So today's topic is actually about classic artificial intelligence, smart homes, smart technology, new artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about some products. We're going to talk about things that can help your life and just have a general conversation around, AI and artificial intelligence and the new stuff that we're dealing with and that we can have in our homes and our work and our phones and just kind of have an overall all-around conversation. So for those of you that are joining us, this is going to be a fun one. We're really excited about it. As usual, we always start off with Man versus Tech with a little bit of tech news. So we're going to go ahead and share some tech news today. Yeah. The first one is going to be, where is it, man? I hit the wrong button, Kyle. Let me hit the right button. There we go. And today we're going to show some stuff about pandas. Right? So give giant pandas entities. Very interesting. What's your thoughts, Kyle?
So this is about facial recognition, right? Facial recognition is something that's been in AI since 70s sci-fi movies. And, facial recognition has often been kind of the target of showing inegalitarianism inside of AI, because you have a big problem with facial recognition, the fact that we have minorities, right? And we have a lot of US-based companies, and a lot of their data set, you'll see in here that they use a couple terabytes worth, over 1 terabyte's worth of data for these pandas. And just the fact is that you need to train these AI facial recognition systems on a certain number of pictures. And so when you're training it on different, people, different skin tones and whatnot, it might get trained poorly. Well, that same human facial training cannot apply to animals. But a Chinese zoo, and sorry, I said 1 terabyte, 10 terabytes worth of data, over 200,000 pictures of more than 600 pandas. So definitely a few pictures per panda, which is good. You want a large training data set. But the zoo in China created an AI system to help identify pandas, because humans are really bad at telling one panda from another.
They all look the same to me.
Yeah, they're generally
even in this picture, I can't tell that that's a different panda. If that is, it looks like the same picture. But from that panda to the one at the bottom, I mean, they don't have distinguishing characteristics like we do.
They got black ears. They might have larger or smaller, or some circular versus bean shaped versus oval shaped black circles around their eyes. The nose might be a little bit longer, but like we're not designed to see that. Like we're designed to see the difference in different humans.
Right.
And it even stands out to us when two humans look alike.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can take twins and AI can recognize the difference between the facial recognition, even though they may be identical twins. It can even see that that's a different person, because we have a lot of facial individual distinguishing traits in a human being's face. This is type of technology that's been used in many countries. It's very common to have facial recognition. Las Vegas has it for casinos, for people that they don't want in the casinos, maybe card counters or bad gamblers. When you're sitting there, they're using that facial recognition. And anything like me, I'm watching like stuff like Modern Marvels and all those things, and I'm learning about all these things. But when it actually comes down to animals, you're right. It's a very different way of technology. So 10 terabytes, 600 images have to be used just to get
600 pandas, more than 200,000 images.
Yeah, just to try to get the distinguishing between each panda at this point in time. So that goes back to what we talk about a lot, which is we have to train the AI. We're always having to teach the AI. Everybody thinks, well, artificial intelligence is so cool, right? You walk in my house and I can say, let there be light. And all of a sudden, all the lights come on. And all my friends and family, they're all like, wow, that's so amazing. But they really don't realize that I actually sat down for about an hour and wrote out the routine to make that happen. And of course, when I'm done with the routine, I don't really need to do it anymore. So even at some point in time, I've had things where I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. I forget that I'm the one who actually sat down and made that do what it's supposed to do, right? And so I think that's a huge topic for today. You're going to hear us talking about that a lot, is what we have to do to get AI to work, and then even then continue to train artificial intelligence to improve itself, right? And keep pushing more at it, keep pushing more information at it. 20 terabytes of pandas. I mean, how far can we get with actually getting a good recognition?
And you expand this to other animals, and maybe you take it to game preserves, and it can be used to help with poaching or illegal animal trafficking, all sorts of stuff. But this is the first large-scale implementation of facial recognition on animals that I've seen.
I think this is pretty cool. I have a friend who runs a large dairy farm in the Northeast. Mm-hmm. And they tag the cows with numbers in their ears, and a lot of people that are out there may, think that's a harsh situation or that's not right. Or, they used to brand cattle. They don't do that anymore. Could we use AI to identify your cattle and how many you have, and maybe even individual identifications of them, to where you can even start naming them at the end of the day? And then I had a little bit of conversation with them about, wouldn't it be cool if you had like a website to where you could let people name your cows for a fee, or they could watch a cow and let it grow, or a calf or something like that. And, with AI, I think that's very possible. But how do you really distinguish a cattle? They all look the same when I see the pictures all the time. Mm-hmm. There's not very many. There might be different colors that go on, but overall, most cattle look the same.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. And I could also see it making the farmer's job easier in that instance, because, for different food regulations, they have to know from which cow milk came from.
Right. That is true.
And so they're having to put a certain cow in a certain pen. They're having to check that tag. They're going to having to log all this. If they had an AI system that could do facial recognition and it just get logged automatically, that's just one less thing the human has to worry about.
Yeah, all your cattle are here. You know which ones you're using for what purpose. You have an inventory of everything. And so currently the old system, tag in the ear with a number. Mm-hmm. If you see the tag, you count the number. That's Bessie. Mm-hmm. Right. Sooner or later, we'll get away from that, and we should be able to start using videos, and we can count everybody that's there. Yeah. The sheepdog's going to be out of a job.
That's computers come to take the sheepdog's job.
They took her jobs.
Looking forward to the Looney Tunes cartoon where Wile E. Coyote is a computer.
I think that's hilarious. So, this is the fun stuff that we like to talk about. This is a very good proven point on AI. I think this is an awesome article. Kyle sent me this last night, and I was kind of reading through it, and those are some of the ideas that came to my mind, and how difficult it is. Actually, I believe there was a Man versus Tech with you and Taylor where you guys actually talked about AI reading animals and having a problem distinguishing the dog, and by changing the color schema, mm-hmm. It called it something else, a trumpet, and it didn't even know what it was, because it struggles with things like that.
Yeah, we did use that.
Cool. So we're back. You see us live here. We did our news. So now we're going to let's talk a little bit about classic AI. Yeah. What do you, we've talked over the last week about classic AI, classic rock, Led Zeppelin, maybe even Blink-182 at this point in time.
Yeah, I think anything more than 20 years old is classic.
Oh, so. Boy, man, I'm getting old. Alanis Morissette is classic rock, everybody.
Oh, man.
At the end of the day, what do you consider classic AI? Like, what do we mean by that?
Yeah, so stuff like motion sensors are what we consider classic AI, which is a pretty simple system, right? It's just saying, hey, is my laser reflection being interrupted? If so, there must be something in the way. So there's a thing there. Lights turn on, or whatever the motion sensor starts. Video camera, start recording. Another example of classic AI is stoplights, right? This is now in use in every major intersection in every major city, whether it be weight sensors under the ground, or other light sensors that are looking for, again, blocked space to see if there's something parked there, or a camera. I've seen modern traffic systems that just have cameras, and they're just saying, "Oh, there's cars there. Oh, they're counting the cars."
Yeah.
And now the lights can adjust their timing based on how many vehicles are there.
So, a long time ago, I've done a little research on traffic and lighting, and I think I was reading about San Francisco, how they actually had, before, let's say, sensors and I guess AI would come into play, they had timed the lights to make traffic go, right? And that was very effective for the road that you were traveling with the light timing. So like green would start, it would be green, and then the red would turn green. So the same cars would hit the green lights and keep traffic moving.
I remember being in downtown Houston and you could see it. Your light turns green and the next one and the next one.
Yeah.
You could see it happen.
The problem that came of that is that everybody that was on the side roads were being stuck by the movement of the main road. So they started installing sensors in the ground. If anybody, we live in a major metroplex. We're from the Woodlands, Houston. When you drive up, you see these big squares in the tar or concrete or whatever the road is made of. And that is an actual sensor to tell if a car is there. So when we pull out of work, we're on kind of a major road, and I will go out there and sit there for just a second. That major road keeps running and running and running. And as soon as we park, then it turns on our green light and lets us go and stops the other traffic. But it will leave the other road pretty wide open if there's nobody on either side. So these sensors are actually becoming pretty effective. You talked about motion sensors. Motion sensors are pretty common. Nowadays you can buy light switches that talk to Wi-Fi and are smart switches and things like that. But you're right. I mean, even I think our bathroom up here at the office when you walk in is a motion sensor.
Yeah.
And there's also a timer on the thing. So do we call that classic AI? Some kind of automation that is set by a human to functionalize at a certain period of time or upon an action?
My daughter has a nightlight in her room that only turns on when the main light gets off. It has a light sensor.
Yeah.
Like all that is artificial intelligence. It's so low level and it's been around for decades now. We don't even think about it as artificial intelligence. There are people, that's not real AI. But those are the first instances of AI in everyday life.
Yeah, I can tell you I've used motion sensors in my home for things. Almost every security system. I've lived in lots of different houses. Some of them still have the motion sensors built in from the old security system that was there. That's how you knew if a thief was in your house. And then you had brake sensors and all kinds of other sensors. And a lot of people never sold that as AI. They didn't say this is artificial intelligence or use those buzzwords. They call them motion sensors. They call them detection systems.
Well, I think AI wasn't as it wasn't as big a buzzword. And also at that point, AI was the Terminator.
Yeah, that's true. Let's not forget that, in the mid 90s, there was T1, T2, T3.
Yeah.
And people, the movies kind of scared everybody with that. It always reminds me going back when even the inception of computers, that's a type of classic AI in my book. Word is to me a little bit of a classic AI. Spell check.
Spell check. Yes, that is all artificial intelligence driven.
I mean, how awesome was that when we were able to get spell check? And I'm a horrible typer, so spell check is huge for me.
I can't spell restaurant to save my life.
I can't spell thanks to save my life. It's always messed up. And that's the end of every email I send at the end of the day.
Tonks.
It's always tonks. And I right click, fix it, and everybody's happy.
Yep.
So what other kind of classic AI do you think is out there that has been in our lives for a long time that we may not consider as an automation type of behavior?
We start getting into things that didn't start out with AI, but then developed AI into them. And that's stuff like Google Maps, right? So we had the GPS devices, Garmin, TomTom, that you had to buy and install in your car. And then you'd have to download updated maps and it would set the course. And that was kind of it's a really cool device, but for lack of a better term, it's a dumb map.
Yeah.
But now with Google Maps and, all the other mapping, there's a lot of mapping apps, won't list them all, but all the other mapping apps out there, they can respond to speed traps, to car accidents, to high traffic situations. If you make a wrong turn and it recalculates, like that's another AI that's been around for a couple of decades now.
Yeah, I was using Google Maps. I went down to Galveston last weekend and I was seeing what I-45 was going to look like. And they had Waze is now tied into it. So you have the ability to report where there's speed traps. So I saw a couple speed traps on my map. I saw where downtown, of course, it always bogs down at the 45 junction on the south side. Was able to plot out my way home. Of course, we just took 45 all the way home and we made pretty good time. There really wasn't that much traffic, but I was able to see things forward by using all that. And it's getting more intuitive. It even knew, probably what I was doing and giving me recommendations. And I get little things on my phone through my artificial intelligence today that starts to know who I am. My favorite AI that's out there as far as like new AI, and I think this happens probably to everybody, is if you shop online and you're browsing Amazon or you're browsing a website and you go log in a couple of days later on your homepage, and on the side there's an advertisement showing you what you were shopping for to remind you about, you need this product or whatever it is. That's an artificial intelligence.
It is.
I like classic cars. I have an older classic car. I've done a lot of things with cars. And it's interesting to me how much classic AI was built into vehicles like auto headlight dimmers, auto headlight turning on by sensors.
Yes.
Knowing when it turned dark. They even in the 50s used to have this little thing you would put up on your dash, because if you pulled up to a red light, it would magnify the red light down to you so you could watch your light and not have to like look up through your window if you had pulled up too close.
Oh, nice.
And that was a built-in thing in a lot of like Cadillacs and Chevys. And it's funny because like I'll get into groups and some of the car guys are like, what is this thing on my dash? And then all these, the real heavy classic guys are like, oh, that's a red light watcher that makes it easier so you don't have to look up and do all this stuff. You can actually look through the lens and it shows you when the light's red or not.
That's really cool. I've never seen one of those.
Yeah, it's I'll have to show it to you another time. So we have our evolution from classic AI automation based upon, some kind of action probably, or a set action, a timer, sprinkler systems. Are all on timers.
Yeah, that's another classic AI.
Now we have sprinkler systems that talk to the internet. I just installed one at my house, and it talks to the weather. It knows when to water the yard more because it's super hot. We've been in the hundreds down here in Houston, and I've been tracking it, and it does things for water conservation. It won't water the yard if it's above 80%, and I can even set the percentage. If it's 70% chance of rain, it won't water that day. It'll just say no. But if I don't have that internet connection built into it, the whole thing's automated by a timer.
Yeah.
And it goes off when it says to go off and turns on and turns off based upon the schedule that I put in.
Which, I mean, is a huge improvement over the way it used to be done. I'm from Phoenix, the land of golf courses. In the desert. And timers for all the golf courses. But could you imagine having it tied to cameras that, hey, it's not going to water if there's people there?
Yeah.
Or, hey, it's going to water more because, it's hot. Or, hey, it rained, so it doesn't need to water this week. I mean, though, that's really cool.
Those are huge things. Let's go green. Let's conserve. I mean, carburetor and fuel injection. I think evolution. So let's talk a little bit about evolution, Kyle, as far as, accepting evolution of AI and sometimes how things are built today at some point in your life, but then sometime in the future, it becomes kind of just wasted. The technology goes away, right? And so we talked a little bit yesterday, but what are some things that we've dealt with in the past 20 years that we have to react to, that we really don't have a choice? We have to upgrade to the new thing.
Well, a lot of that goes down to smart homes.
Yeah.
I had the original Google TV devices from 10 years ago. And now you plug them in and turn them on. None of the apps work. It's got a Netflix app. It can't even connect to the Netflix server. But you have older devices. I remember back to smart kitchens. Those became a thing. And you basically had a tablet that was inside of a block that would have recipes and all these things. And it was very specific.
Right.
And now that functionality is built into the Epicurious app, which might be on your Google Home device.
Right.
Or your Alexa TV can install it. Or if you got a Samsung or LG fridge, you can install these, and you don't need all these dedicated devices for each function. I
think that is true. I've been into smart homes, and at some point I sold some of those appliances in my retail days. And, when they first came out, it was like, you could put in your grocery list, and then it would remind you after a certain period of time, and you could put in the expiration date of the milk. But you had to do all that stuff, and then it would send something to you, or the fridge would notify you by email or something that, hey, your milk's about to expire. So get some milk. Now they have refrigerators that like read the refrigerator and see what's in there. Smart ovens and smart microwaves and smart appliances that can turn off and on and do certain things.
Dishwashers that will use lasers to read how dirty the dishes are and maybe rewash them.
Yeah. Use more water, less water, see how much is actually in the dishwasher at the end of the day.
Yep.
I mean, this is all technology that we're going to be using, that we're going to be getting in our life. But, back in 2016, I started really getting into smart home stuff. I wanted to install switches and have everything automated, and it was kind of out there. And I remember I met a guy who was using the Samsung Hub to do it all. I think that's what they called it. And he was showing me on his phone how he set all these routines for like water watching and if your toilet had overflowed, he had like sensors at the bottom of the toilet that would show him stuff. And it was in this real archaic app, and it was almost like watching code. And that's what got me into it. So I went and bought a hub. And I bought some things to go along with it. I did some small automation. And today, hubs are going away. Today, the hubs are built into your Google Home or your Alexa and things like that. So more and more devices are just automatically working. You don't have to have an app for every single device you have. They're starting to automatically work with certain things. So I have a friend of mine who has an old smart system in her house. And the system was really amazing. I mean, you could go through the app, you could play music, a lot like what Alexa does or Google does now. But this is back in 2016 and it was like a $20,000 investment and the switches are smart, the lights are smart. You could say, turn on the kitchen lights. You could say, play music and talk to this thing, to this system. Now, the system was improved and kept improving. And then they paired it with Alexa and paired it with other smart Google Home or whatever it may be. But just in June this year, Alexa decided to quit supporting that system.
Ooh.
And now you can go on there and everybody's complaining that they've invested all this money. They've done all these things. They have this older system. But because of the evolution of technology, that system is no longer even cared about by them. And so they've lost all their functionality of using Alexa to do stuff. And they're even losing functionality of the application itself functioning properly because it's being phased out on its own.
Yeah, and security is a lot of times a big driver in that. We've all seen the horror stories on news about how somebody hacked the baby monitor and is now, saying stuff to the baby or watching your family. But I
think the Nest cameras were having that problem at the beginning, right?
A lot of them were because it's kind of the idea when computers were so new. Yeah, they had fewer viruses because people weren't trying to attack them,
right?
And people didn't know how to attack them. And then we got smart home stuff, and it was just new, and security wasn't the first thought. So. Now there's a lot of systems like I don't know Amazon's thought process, but they may have found a vulnerability that couldn't be fixed in that old system, and they don't want to expose everything else as a result of that.
I think it's just like Windows XP. At some point, it just becomes old, and you got to buy a Vista or a Windows 8, and now we're in Windows 11. And for those of you out there that are using Windows, if you go check your computer, some of our equipment's not working for the newest Windows, and you can still use Windows 10, but at some point it's going to get phased out, and there's really nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, there were applications. I mean, a lot of people went through it earlier this year when Internet Explorer finally died.
Yeah.
It's been announced for a long time that it was on its last leg, but they finally cut off support for it finally. And there are applications that are like, hey, you cannot update your Windows. We have to have Internet Explorer to run our application because they're running off that IE kernel.
So people are trying to backtrack and create and fix something, even though it's coming. And I think, honestly, tech companies, everybody that's out there, be ready for the future. Have us ready for the future. We want it. Don't make my thing die off just because you don't want to upgrade your software at the end of the day. How many people are running off of old technology? I'm part of a funny IT group on Facebook, and they'll send me stuff, and it'll be like a major TV in Vegas, and the Windows XP is running the thing. And it even comes up with the blue screen, and people are like, can you believe that this gigantic thing is being run off XP? Well, we're all having to run off the newest equipment in our basic lives that we buy computers on. That those are parts of like video game systems and older technology, and so.
But that's a problem at sports stadiums,
Yeah.
they have a big problem with not wanting to upgrade the technology because so much of it was designed to work a certain way.
Yeah, there's got to be a lot of investment in that giant screen in,
Yeah.
in Dallas Stadium, the biggest screen in the stadium.
Yeah.
If that was all made out of one system, that system becomes, post dated. Are you going to go rip it all out and put in a new system again? I mean, that's going to be a little tough for Jerry Jones to come up with that money. So let's talk a little bit about smart devices. We're going to share some today with you guys. Kyle and I love to talk about smart devices. And so we're going to do a little bit of Amazon in today. We are not represented by any of these companies. We don't get paid to talk about any of these companies. But one thing is that Kyle and I love a lot of this technology. So we're going to talk a little about like smart vacuums. So what do you remember being the first, smart vacuum, I guess, that you heard
Roomba.
of?
I mean, Roomba's like the Kleenex of vacuum cleaners, right? We just call it a
Kleenex,
Roomba.
and I love it.
Even though mine's a D-bot.
Mine's a D-bot too. I have D-bot too, yeah.
So we call it D3BO. That's what
I love it.
But we're still like, it's a Roomba. Just like, it's a tissue. No, it's a Kleenex. Like, yeah, they're synonymous.
I even have, the D-bot that I have now. I bought some new ones. The old ones I had were very random. They would kind of play the Pong game where like the thing on the screen and see if you could get it to the corner. And over time they would clean the room, but it wasn't strategic. It was just more of a move around and bounce. And at some point it's going to be there. They also had like tape you could lay out to stop it from crossing places or maybe sensors. And then I bought some new ones that actually have cameras on them. And these ones actually read the ceiling and it can actually track your home, and then it tells you back through the app where it went in the house. Yeah, and I can see like my island in my kitchen and where I have my couches, and those are white areas. And the robot knows now where it's located. If I pick up the D-bot and I move it, it'll say trying to find location. And then if it's not matching where it last was, maybe something got clogged or one of my kids' socks got sucked into it. If I move it, it will literally restart the cleaning process because it lost its location and it wants to relocate itself at the end of the day. So these things are getting even more smart. We're seeing some stuff on here like this one has a mop tied to the back of it.
Because you used to have a broom and a vacuum and a mop, and they were all separate.
Right, exactly. And how do we use it? We would sweep and then mop and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now, I love these devices. I think I have robot mops at my house. I have robot vacuums at my house because I hate mopping and vacuuming. I haven't pulled out my regular Dyson in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
However, the robot mops, the size of them, because they contain water, these ones, a lot of times the vacuums are small so they can go under couches, they can go under something, which is really cool. How many people actually vacuum underneath your couch or underneath the table, take that time to do it? I can tell you, if you have kids like me and Kyle, your couch has a lot of things underneath it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I don't even know if my D-bot can handle what's underneath my couch without it having a problem.
There's a full set of clothes under there.
Cheetos and a game and Lord knows what it is. But at the end of the day, even the robot mops that I have do a wonderful job at the general area, but I have to go get the old school manual mop just to do the corners.
Yep.
I even bought a mop that says it can do the edges. My problem is the kitchen cabinets have a lip underneath them, and it just can't get around that lip.
Just can't get under it.
And where does dirt pile up? It always piles up in the corner. It doesn't pile up in the middle of everything.
Nope.
So, I'm at work right now. We're here doing Man versus Tech. My robot vacuums are working at the house. They're doing it while I'm gone. I get to come home to a nice clean floor. The robot mops will start in a little while after the vacuums go, and they're going to start mopping things. But I still have to, every once in a while, get out the manual mop. And this is non-AI. This is Chris AI. This is me doing everything. And I have to do that still because they have not created something that will literally fully clean everything.
Yeah.
I think the same thing goes with these vacuums. They're not super strong. They don't know what to do if they get caught up on a cord sometimes. And they're building technologies for it to understand. There's different prices you can look at. I mean, some of these go into stuff like they have bins now that will automatically empty them. So I don't have one of these. I don't have a bin one. I go and get myself.
As cheap as $100, or you might
sure can.
$600. Yeah, and we're not at Rosie yet from the Jetsons. That's what I want.
Yeah, here's $1,000 Robo Rock S7 robot vacuum and sonic mop with self-empty dock.
Wow. The sonic mop.
I can tell you right now that dock not be able to empty that thing with what my kids do to these things.
That's like the sonic showers in Star Trek or the sonic screwdriver.
Yes, Imperial. Let's use those words. Something else that we've been talking about, so that goes along with this theme, and you go into Amazon, you can type these type of things in here, but I've been real interested in the robot lawnmower. Not only, and you can tell I suck at typing, not only have we moved into, God, I'm horrible. Moved into like electronic lawnmowers and having batteries instead of gas powered motors. There's so many. I even see my neighbors out there and they're quiet. You can like mow your yard at midnight. Nobody even knows you're doing it because all you hear is the grass.
It's just electric. Yeah.
Or if you're up at 7 a.m. in the morning, thank you for the people who have electric mowers instead of the gas ones. You want to watch a fun movie? Watch Moving with Richard Pryor. He has a neighbor that has a crazy lawnmower that's like a tractor. But they have these new robot like lawnmowers that are out there, and I've kind of seen some of these. They have GPS positioning systems. You can even set it to not mow your neighbor's yard. We all kind of share yards. If you live in suburbia, you probably at some point of your yard it crosses over to your neighbor's. And you never know mow another man's yard. That's a scenario. But you have some manufacturers that are out there making these things, and these are a lot like the robot vacuums.
They are. It's just an evolution. You went from vacuum to mop. Now we're at a lawnmower.
And so, so far I haven't necessarily seen a bagging. So it looks like a lot of these are mulching.
Yep.
I'm very interested in them. They do have apps that even says you can set where it goes and what it does. For me, I live in the woodlands, and sometimes in my yard, I have tree stumps or roots that are coming out of the ground. And I pay yard guys to do my yard, so I don't have one of these cool vacuums or robot ones, although I'm maybe getting there.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm worried about it hitting that tree stump because I can see they hit it with their riding ones a lot.
Yeah.
And
so that's
what's going to stop this thing that doesn't allow it to fully mow my yard at the end of the day is something I'm concerned about.
I have some other Works brand equipment at my house. And so I got the press release when they announced it, and they have a root detection system for that one in particular. So I know I don't know how good it is. I've never used it, not endorsing it, but I'm just saying, I know that they're trying to accommodate that. I don't know what it is. Or how good it is.
Or a kid's toy, or G.I. Joe, or
I've also seen
Hot Wheels cars in the grass and the kids playing.
Does
it see those type of things, or does it just chop it on up like we would do if we just were mowing our yard and didn't see it? Right? Yeah, I've destroyed some toys in my life with the yard mower. I can tell you that.
Some of them have remote control abilities too, to where you can manually direct it. Like I know my vacuum has that at home, but I've seen that with lawnmowers. One of the other guys here at the office was talking about it, how you can remote control the lawnmower, so that if it's not getting it the way you want it, you can make it do it.
I think the first version of these were more like a remote control car. And so you could sit, it'd show like some guy sitting in a lawn chair and he's like telling his lawnmower what to do with the remote control, which again, is that classic AI, RF, radio frequency. And now you have satellite driven lawnmowers that will come out at certain times of the day. What if it rains? You don't want your mower mowing the yard and leaving tracks in your yard and things like that. So there's all kinds of cool stuff, and I'm just going to randomly click on one.
But would these leave tracks also?
Yeah, would they? What does it do? How can it handle high grass? At the end of the day, my big thing is, does it weed eat? Can it get the edges? Do I still got to, it's nice. Thank you for mowing my yard and everything, but I got to go out there and still manually bring out my weed eater. Maybe it's electric instead of gas, and it has a battery now and not a power cable, which allows me to be more free. But thanks, cool robot lawnmower, for what you're doing. But now I still got to go out there and sweat in the heat to finish it off, so to say.
And that's where we are with a lot of this technology. It's emerging. It's not in its final form. It's not completed yet. And we will have to fill in the gaps as humans. My dad always liked to use the phrase, be smarter than. So like if I was having trouble with the lawnmower, our push lawnmower, he'd be like, Kyle, you got to be smarter than the lawnmower. Kyle, you got to be smarter than the dishwasher.
Smarter than the lawnmower.
And back then, it didn't mean the same thing it does now because, you got to be smarter than the dishwasher. Well, the dishwasher actually has a brain at this point.
It does. Yeah. It's not just shooting water at it and cleaning your dishes and hoping for the best, right? It does measure certain things. I think this is a really cool technology. I'm excited about any kind of tech that's out there that makes our lives easier. However, let's talk about what happens when you don't have internet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it can go bad.
Or the Wi-Fi goes down. Does it still work? I mean, my smart home it turns into a dumb home really fast if the router goes down, or, my internet goes out for a couple of hours, just as much as if the electricity were to go out. It's, that's what powers everything, right? So, we got to think about what we're putting ourselves into at the end of the day and the risk factors that we're taking. The more smart we become, the more we rely on certain things that must work to make that smartness happen.
Well, and I think that we see that with, I was reading about an epidemic among young workers and high schoolers in particular, is they don't know how to use a keyboard. They can type, but they do it all on phones.
Yeah.
They do it all on tablets. And they don't know how to save files on a computer to a specific location. And I think that we see that the more we depend on technology, the less we, have that creativity. Not that we're less smart, but just we don't know what to do. And so I could see a generation of people who are raised with robot vacuum cleaners that when they now have to go vacuum something themselves, they won't know, oh, I need a different head attachment.
Yeah. How do you vacuum the stairs? How do you even use this thing?
I should turn the roller off for hardwood and turn the roller on for carpet.
How do you even empty the canister? Maybe you have a bag vacuum. What do I do, Dad? How do I make this thing work? I think that's an interesting point you make right there about people not knowing how to use keyboards or saving files. You're right. From your phone, you could be at a website and just hit the share button and you can share through. It'll tell you like what to share it through. Maybe you want to do an email to somebody. Maybe you want to directly text message it through somebody. I was told I was kind of old the other day because I SMS message people and I didn't realize that was an old tech. To me, text messaging goes that way, but we're having, a lot of our employees are data scientists. They're using applications to message people, and a lot of different applications, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, WhatsApp. That's how they're communicating with each other. And I was even told like, oh, SMS messaging, well, that's like old technology. And I'm saying I SMS message all the time.
Yeah.
And now I can see after maybe using a couple of the apps. I think my problem is most of the people I know have no idea how to use a WhatsApp or don't have it.
I just don't need 10 different apps.
I really don't need 10 different apps either, or have different ways for you to message me through 10 different addresses. I've had the same phone number for like 30 years. At the end of the day, I probably will have it forever because you can port them now and move them around. But that's the type of stuff that we're getting into. And I was watching luckily, IMDb TV turned into Freevee, and they had like literally Modern Marvels, and it was an older model Modern Marvels, like early 2000s, that was getting into PDAs and the BlackBerry, and it stopped at the BlackBerry. Awesome. It was before the smartphone came out, right? We didn't have that at the time, and so it was talking about all the different things that are probably going to happen with technology. It started even showing some of the stuff like when you go to Disneyland, you have like a bracelet that you wear for everything that you do.
And now that's gone. It's the Genie. Well, it's a different system now.
It's a different system now.
Yeah, that's even gone through a few iterations.
Yeah, I stayed at a hotel this weekend where the bracelet was my pool pass. It was everything. So we kept it on, and you just walk it up to the little dash. Same way the card worked. But I was showing everybody, well, look, there's the technology right there, because underneath it you could see the micro chip or processor or whatever.
RFID or something.
Yeah, RFID probably is what it is. But it did the same thing as the card, and they weren't giving out cards. And I asked the lady, why did you do this? And she goes, cost of cards. Yeah. The cost of people losing their hotel cards, asking for new ones. When you put this band on that your pool pass, a lot of people won't lose it, and they're going to hold on to it the entire time.
Well, and that's a great point with Disney in particular, because I know the Disney one works with Apple Watches. I don't know about other smartwatches, but my brother went to Disney World earlier this year, and he was telling me that they could get their tickets and their everything on his watch.
Sure.
And so he didn't need a separate band, and he already has the watch.
That's awesome.
That's Disney's tricky way of saving money.
Hey, I think it's a great idea.
It doesn't make his life easy.
Go up to your gas pump, tap on credit cards. Most of the new cards I'm getting have a tap function.
I do it with my app. I don't even put in a card.
I was going to talk about that. People always talk about swiping your card at the gas pump and that you can get ripped off and putting in your PIN, and they got machines on them. And I started using an application where I pull up to the pump and I put in a number, and it's already preset to my credit card I want to charge, and it turns on the pump. All I got to do is select the gas, put my gas in. I'm not putting my credit card in. I'm not putting my PIN number in.
Right.
To the thieves that are out there that are installing machines and breaking the seals and all that stuff that was going on, I'm not a risk of that anymore. You'd have to hack my app at the end of the day. Yeah. I have found not every gas station has this.
Right.
So I've been a big Exxon customer recently because they have a good one.
Yeah.
but they're becoming more common. And what a cool safety feature for you to be able to sit in your car and not have to go stand out there and stand by the pump. There's been people that have been robbed at the pumps. I mean, a long time ago, they had the Washington shooter that was shooting people at the gas pumps because they were doing that time. I get out, put the pump in, hit it on auto, go jump back in my car, sit in the AC, and something that's more cool. I don't stand by my pump anymore.
And I could see that as a safety feature for people because, like, we have a Valero card, right? And it's only usable at Valero gas stations. And
right.
It's in the Valero app, but I have the app on my phone. My wife can have it on her phone. My daughter's too young to drive, but when she's able to drive, I always want her to be able to get gas, but I don't necessarily want to give her a credit card.
Right. Because she's going to go inside and buy Cokes and chips.
And she might stop by the mall and everything.
Yeah.
And so, but we could put this app that's tied to this one card that's able to be used, and it's so much safer.
I think it's amazing. Applications through smartphones directly, telling a business something. We stopped at Sonic and got some drinks while we were down there, and we ordered everything through the app.
It's half price. Yeah,
the drinks are cheaper. It's like a burger has one. Yeah. Everybody has an app nowadays. So I think we're in the land of everybody having an app. And I can't wait to the day where like one app can participate with multiple vendors.
I think we will get to that because I was talking about Google TV 10 years ago. But one thing that happened 10 years ago is you had the Fox app and you had the CBS app and all these things. And now we still do have multiple streaming services, but all of the NBC Universal stuff is under the Peacock app.
Right.
It's not Sci-Fi, TNT, USA. They're not all separate apps. It's one app for that. And then you have unified services like Hulu, right? So I think that we will see something like a Hulu for fast food restaurants.
I mean, you have DoorDash, but that's a delivery service.
Yeah. But it could be an extension.
And you can do pickup, but it's a little more expensive. It's not as direct. Like you get the discounts through the Sonic app, and you're able to. So we rolled right up. She put in the drink orders. And the lady roller skated out our slushes, and it was like I didn't even have to hit the button or talk to anybody.
No, and here.
She saved money, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I always tell her, you have an app for everything, don't you? You can just app everything that's out there, and we laugh about it because I really don't do any of that stuff. I still go to the grocery store sometimes and actually walk an aisle, and you can use apps for grocery delivery nowadays. They have like Instacart and Shipt and
they'll use AI on those apps to encourage you to repurchase things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know stuff like Amazon, if you go through their online grocery ordering, they'll say, hey, you bought this much dog food. We saw that you reordered it every 20 days, 3 times in a row.
Right.
It's now been 19 days. You want to go ahead and order this?
Or subscribe and save, and then you can change it. It'll start to recognize that you're ordering things more often. Yeah. I know my grocery app will tell me it's so cool. Like if I feel like households typically buy the same things over and over and over again, right? So you get the same milk, you get the same type of bread. I usually don't go to the grocery store and pick up Wonder Bread and then Mrs. Baird's or something else. I'm a big Mrs. Baird's fan. I don't know why I grew up with it. So that's what I buy. I usually don't even switch it out. I'm always buying Dr. Pepper or ginger ale or a Coke. I'm not a big Pepsi person at the end of the day. So that's not in my cart. So what's cool about the app is that the first when I started using it, I would have to go through there every time and order my groceries. Mm-hmm. Then it started remembering my orders, and then now it has a reorder button. So I can just go look at my last order. And as long as I didn't order anything that was special for that day, let's say maybe I was having a barbecue at the house and I needed some chicken and some ribs and some barbecue sauce, I can click reorder even on that one and just remove the stuff that I didn't want. It takes me back to my original order. I keep an order on there that is my household essentials, I call it. Mm-hmm. And I just hit the reorder button, hit buy, and within hours, it's at my doorstep sitting ready to go. And I'll tell you, as a person with 3 kids, dragging your kids to the grocery store or finding the time to get away to go do that has just been life-changing for me. And to be able to open the door. And then I even make it a thing where all the kids come help me bring in the groceries. I use my kids to do stuff.
Yeah. And studies show that people waste less money buying things that if they order through the app, they have fewer impulse buys.
Yeah. What do they say? Don't go to the grocery store hungry.
Yes.
Right. Or anything like that, because you're going to waste money. I can tell you, I go into Walmart for one thing and I always spend $100.
Yeah.
I even say at the cashier, I'm like, there's the mark. I hit the $100 mark. How did I do that? Because I went walking around the store and I happen to go, I'll get that. I'm going to pick this up too. Yep. Don't get me wrong, guys. I worked retail for a long time. They're intentionally putting these products in front of you to do that. Mm-hmm. So At the end of the day, those apps do take away the ability for them to try to upsell you or put something on an end cap. But at the same time, they're also offering hot deals of the day and things like that.
Yeah.
Anybody who did Amazon Prime in the last in this month, I think it was the 12th and the 13th.
Mhm.
I know a couple of people who are a little light on the pocketbook from the Amazon Prime Day that went on, and they bought some things probably they really didn't need at the end of the day. And somebody was sending me pictures I was like, man, this is like Christmas. You got every day you got 10 packages at your doorstep, and we even started talking about there could be the Amazon movie guy who you don't order and wants to come see you, and that you're delivering. So I got some good movie thoughts for the people out there in Hollywood about a horror movie about the Amazon delivery guy who doesn't want you to stop ordering. He's happy to see you. Doesn't throw your packages at your door, things like that. So, man, we did a good man versus tech today.
Yeah, went a little overtime.
Yeah, a little bit overtime. I don't think this is like a really like a who wins man versus tech type of conversation. It was something fun that me and Kyle really wanted to talk about as far as technology in general, things that we think about and talk about. That's really what this webinar is all about, is Chris and Kyle's thoughts, the things that we have conversations about. It's why we started it all. And this was something that we've been excited to kind of talk about, things that we have conversations about. And we're going to continue talking about it. We're going to continue talking about what we learn out there, how this stuff applies to our life, because it applies to our business, I think, at the end of the day, too.
It does. And we'll get back into the more the heavy and specific business use cases that we use, like you were talking about IDP and RPA, machine learning and stuff. But we want to take a little break.
Take a little break
and have some nice stuff.
Can't always be talking about things that you may not understand what we're talking about. Let's talk about some real stuff that's out there. Let's talk about some things
stuff you use every day.
That we use every day. I do. I use all these things every day. I mean, every single day of my life. My favorite thing right now is fingerprint authentication through my phone instead of passwords.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I can log into apps and just tap my thumb, and it opens my phone. Facial recognition going right into it. Has its pluses and minuses. I think I had somebody the other day, what if they cut off your thumb? I'm like, well, somebody's cutting off your thumb.
I've got bigger problems.
You got bigger problems than that. That's what they're trying to do to get into your Amazon app to make an order. But, that has led me to not have to say, Google, remember my password. And as things are happening, I'm seeing more and more sites do like 2FA instantly, recognizing new devices, and even wanting to change your password more often.
Yeah.
So biometrics is something that I think maybe we should even have a whole man versus talk situation about it.
Yeah.
Man versus tech talk.
I have a password on my phone, right, to log into it, but it's disabled when I'm at home because it's got geofencing, and I have it set that if I'm at home, I don't want a password on my phone. Just to make my life easier.
You are a trusting man.
I am.
Have nothing to hide.
But when I'm out in public, there's a password on my phone.
No, these are the things. I have geofencing as well. It turns off and on my security system. It turns off and on certain things when I come home.
It turns on my Bluetooth when I get to the office, so it connects to my speaker.
That's awesome. I
usually have my Bluetooth off.
Yeah, my smart thermostats go up when I leave and down when I come home, and it's saving. It says it saves me money. I don't know. My electric bill this month, along with everybody else, is probably like,
but that's a whole nother time.
That's a whole nother topic. We can talk about all those type of things. But, today was about classic AI, about smart devices, about integrating that into your life. If you guys want to chat with us, hit up me and Kyle directly. We're on LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel. We're out there. Message us. Talk about it. We love to talk about it with our fans that are out there, with the people that are out there. Throw us questions. Join in. We're more than happy to talk about all these different things. It's exciting for us to live this stuff. We do tech. We love tech, and that's really what we're all about.
And one thing we've done here is we've upgraded our setup a little bit. So if you got any feedback on that, we're using a dedicated computer with a attached camera and an attached microphone to it. So let us know how that setup works. If it was good, or if there's something we need to do to make this experience better for you viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining Man versus Tech every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Central. Come join us. If you can't be on time and check us out because you're doing other things, it's on LinkedIn Live. It's on YouTube. You can watch it anytime. Watch at your leisure. Join us. Leave your comments. We're excited about everybody, and we'll try to get back to everybody as soon as possible. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next week.